Hi, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. It's a welcome back edition. Glad to be talking a second time with author, publisher, creator, James Aquilone. James, thank you for jumping in, joining, and talking with me for a few minutes.
Well, it's good to see you again, Jason. It wasn't that long ago.
No, it's just been I think a few months, but yeah, it's the year is going fast though,
Yeah,
and
right. Yeah,
yeah,
very much.
and it seems like you're creating a lot and staying busy.
Yeah, this time I got a jump start on the Kickstarter. Started early in the year, so this Kickstarter started I think in February. So usually I don't start them until later in the year, but it's going to be a busy year, so I wanted to get a jump on it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it looks like a great project that you have cooking up. It's called the Omega 11. I'm seeing some art on social media that looks really interesting and really cool. So, I guess the first question in that direction is please tell us a little bit about this project and the latest creating and how that's coming to be.
Well, this is a comic book series, so it's a little bit different than what I've done before, which was mostly horror anthologies. So this is the first time I'm writing a comic book series. And this is just the first issue in what's going to probably be a five-issue comic book series. And it's based on this character, Dr. Omega, who
Hmm. Hmm.
was introduced in like 1906. He was by a French writer, and he's not that well known, which I'm finding out, which I didn't know about him either, though I have to admit, because my artist Zach Atkinson, he brought me this idea.
Hmm.
So he had this idea to take this character who's now in the public domain, Dr. Omega, and make him this time traveler who has to go throughout history, picking up these other characters to pull off this impossible heist.
Hmm.
And so that was the first time I ever heard of Dr. Omega. Although his name does sound like some character that you probably know, but I guess that's why they say he was probably the inspiration for Doctor Who because there were illustrations in the book back in 1906, and they do look a lot like the first Doctor. And he he has a lot of similarities to the original Doctor
Hmm.
Who. He has a spaceship that he travels around in, and he has companions. And I'm not sure if he even really time traveled that much, but it was more like kind of like a John Carter thing where he goes to Mars and he has a lot of these crazy adventures with the Martians and stuff like that. But he was kind of picked up later on. I think it was translated into English finally, like in the early 2000s.
Hmm.
And then they started making new Doctor Omega stories, and they kind of inserted him into the whole Doctor Who canon. So I think he's actually part of Doctor Who now in some
Oh,
capacity.
okay. Interesting, interesting. So, some nice universe weaving there, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So it's kind of cool that I think that he's part of the Doctor Who thing. So I think they kind of just played into it, and they said, "Well, otherwise, we'll just throw him into the Doctor Who universe."
Yeah, yeah. Now you mentioned Zach Atkinson there, so I'm curious if you want to do any shout outs, any kind of celebrations of what he's brought to the project so far.
Let's say he brought the project, so
Yeah.
which is great because as a writer and publisher, I often get people pitching me stories or wanting to work with me and saying, "Hey, I got this great idea," and it's usually not that great. And this time, he blew me away. And I was like, "This is exactly the type of thing that I want to do," and so this could have been my idea too, but it was his idea. So I love this idea of this character who has to create this team and pull off a heist. So those were always like my favorite movies with like the Dirty Dozen,
Hmm. Hmm.
Inglorious Bastards and stuff like that. So I love that. So I always wanted to do that type of story, where the guy goes around and has to find all these other cool characters. So this was definitely, something I've wanted to do. So when Zach came up with this idea, I jumped on it. I said, "Hey, we got to do this." And I love playing with the public domain characters too. So this was
Hmm.
perfect.
Yeah, that's such a cool thing to bring characters sort of out of public domain and out of kind of the backlogs in history and bring them back into the forefront. So I love that.
Yeah, and the good thing about Dr. Omega is that he wasn't well known. So that's difficult when you're working with the public domain characters. Usually those characters have been done to death, if you wanted to do like something like Sherlock Holmes or something, who's been, there's been so many iterations of Sherlock Holmes. So with Dr. Omega, there really isn't that much stuff out there.
Mhm.
So like this might be the first Dr. Omega comic book. I'm not sure, but there's not that much stuff out there.
And as far as kind of the take that you and Zach brought to it, we've already talked about a little bit of the inspiration as far as the original source material, but anything as far as the direction that you took that you'd like to mention as far as visual style, storytelling, structure, any of those kind of things.
Well, it's not very much like Doctor Who at all.
Hmm. Hmm.
So probably more direction we're taking is more like a Rick and Morty type of style. So it's more of a parody and it's just more humorous. So Dr. Omega is not at all like Doctor Who because he's more like of a scoundrel. So he goes around in times stealing artifacts and stuff. So in the first issue is about him going to Camelot and he wants to steal the Philosopher's Stone from
Hmm.
Merlin. So so he doesn't have any scruples. So he's more like the anti Doctor Who.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
he ends up screwing things up really bad and that's and that he needs to do the heist in order to get himself out of it. So that was more my direction, more like a Rick and Morty type thing, or even like Bill and Ted. So we were taking more of a humorous take on
Hmm.
it. As far as the visuals, I just left it up to Zach. So when I write the scripts, I don't do too much in the way of descriptions. I just say, do what you want. Or, he came to me with a bunch of characters and he had the illustrations already. So a good number of the characters were stuff that he created already. In the first issue, I brought in the Artful Dodger.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's a new character as far as, the stuff that he created. So the idea then was to let's have him go and gather up all the greatest thieves throughout the history. So my first thought was the Artful Dodger, and he'd be perfect, right?
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
brought him in, and we haven't really revealed the others yet. One of them will appear at the end of issue one, but then we'll really get into it in issue two when they start, gathering up the team. But you can kind of figure where we're going with that. But the characters won't be what you expect because most of them will be mashups.
Hmm.
Uh, so we have the another French character. Oddly enough, a lot of these public domain characters are French. Arsène Lupin, the gentleman thief. Uh, but we're matching him up with the Phantom of the Opera, so he's the Phantom Lupin. And there's some great art that Zach did with that. So he's one member of the team, and then we have the Alpha Dodger, and then we'll have like a Robin Hood type in
Hmm.
there. We'll have um, oddly enough, a lot of those public domain characters and a lot of the biggest names in fiction were thieves.
Hmm.
Aladdin's a thief. So we have a lot of characters to choose from.
Lots of anti-hero kind of storytelling to play with. I love that.
Yeah, so we don't have a problem as far as finding the 11 characters. If anything, it was the opposite. It's like there's so many characters and so many things we could do. Then we're just trying to like whittle it down, and we're always throwing around ideas. And Zach's always hitting me up on Facebook and go, "Oh, what about this?" I think, well, it's got to make sense in the story, but he comes up with really cool ideas for characters, and he has some really cool designs.
Cool, cool. Yeah. The last time we talked, you said there were lots of exciting things on the way. So, anything that you want to hat tip as far as what is next, but also um, spaces where people can go to check out the Omega 11 support and see some of the art and some of the storytelling that we've been talking about.
Well, the Omega 11 is now on Kickstarter. We the campaign will end this Thursday, which is March. I don't even know, March 7th.
Hmm. Hmm.
But you can get the links on my website, monstrousbooks.com. Um, And what was the first part of the question?
Oh, yes. Anything else that is upcoming that you want to sort
Oh,
of nod to
uh,
or anything like that?
well, we're gonna make an announcement in April. So there's a whole nother project company that we'll be announcing in April. Um, yeah, I can't say too much about it, but it's gonna be pretty big. We're gonna have a lot of big name licensed books and stuff.
Cool, cool.
So, but yeah, pretty big.
Yeah.
And some things that I kind of been had worked on before will be returning.
Nice, nice.
But yeah, the big announcement's in April. So we've been sitting on this for months, and so we have a lot of things already ready to go.
Hmm.
So right off the gate, we're going to be releasing a couple of pre-orders, and then doing at least two Kickstarters this year.
Nice. Busy things ahead.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about how I'm going to handle all of this stuff, but yeah, we actually have about 2 years of a 2 year publishing schedule all set up. So we're gonna do a lot.
Nice, nice. Well, glad to hear that the creating, the storytelling is continuing, and glad to share about the Omega 11. Glad to have you back anytime to talk about projects.
Oh, there'll be a lot to talk about in a few weeks. So yeah, I
All
think
right.
we'll be talking again.